Our next speaker is a documentary filmmaker whose most recent film is a fascinating expose on privacy in the age of the internet. In it, he explains exactly how our personal data is sold online to the highest bidder, and the way in which massive databases of personal data that companies like Facebook and Google maintain have helped make government surveillance simpler than ever before. The film is called Terms and Conditions May Apply, and it's playing here in San Francisco, the Roxy Theater, until August 7th. I really recommend you go see it. Please join me in welcoming Cullin Hoback.
Thank you. Wow, I mean, it really is such an honor to be on this stage today, sharing this microphone with some real American heroes. Mark Klein, just one more time for him, please. And, thank you. And Daniel Ellsberg, of course. I will be speaking later. So I started as a filmmaker. I didn't start as an activist. But the more I dug, the deeper I dug, I couldn't help but become an activist. The reality is that these spy systems that are enabled largely by tech companies are basically posing the greatest civil liberties crisis of our times. And oftentimes we look at these corporations and give them a pass. We say, you know what, you're not accountable for this. And in reality, for the last 15 years, corporations have had a lot to gain, billions to gain, in exchange for handing over information in many cases, vis-a-vis something called the third-party doctrine. This needs to change. Now, when you look at terms and conditions of many of these websites that we all use, applications that we all use on our phones, the terms and conditions really do reveal the nature of the trade. It's more than just about taking our data, it's also about sharing our data. And in reality right now, what you hear from a lot of executives in particular in Silicon Valley is that privacy is dead, and that we're moving into a new paradigm, and that if we want to have the convenience of these technologies, the reality is that we have to sacrifice our privacy to get there. Well, that's a very convenient thing when, that aligns with your business model. That's the reality right now, is that privacy doesn't have to be dead, it's just profitable for privacy to be dead. If Silicon Valley executives really wanted privacy dead, then they themselves should change the way in which they're behaving. I think one thing that I show in my film is that CEO Eric Schmidt, well, he's not the CEO anymore, but he's the head of the board at Google, got very angry when CNET published a picture of his home. Well, you know what Google has done? They published pictures of all of our homes, right? The hypocrisy of that is out of control. Mark Zuckerberg on his Facebook page says that he wants to make the world more open and connected. He wants the world to be more transparent. Well, in reality, I try to get a hold of anyone at Facebook to talk about the privacy issues associated with their site. I never got any kind of returned email, I never got anything back from them at all. I tried many, many times. I even went into their office. The reality is that companies like Facebook and Google want us to give them as much information as possible, us to be as transparent as possible. They themselves are not transparent at all. Facebook was an iron curtain. What I ended up having to do was go to Mark Zuckerberg's house. I stayed outside of his house and waited for him to walk to work. Why? Because I wanted to show that privacy matters to everyone. You know what Mark did? He asked me to turn off the cameras. And I actually was wearing a pair of spy glasses at the time. So I let that roll, and you know what happened after he thought the cameras were turned off? He loosened up. You know why he loosened up? Because he didn't think he was being recorded. Imagine how nice it would be if we could all just tell these companies to stop recording us unless we ask to be recorded first. The point is, everyone needs privacy. The CEOs want privacy as well. People at the very top of government want privacy as well. This is a human right, and everyone understands this. So there's something else that I think we're hearing a lot right now. It's a statement of, I have nothing to hide, so why does it matter?
Yeah.
Oh man, I hate hearing that.
Yeah.
I was just in Traverse City now. Wherever you stand on Michael Moore, stand on Michael Moore, but I was talking with him. And he loves the film, by the way. And he was saying, When he hears that, he goes, well, if you're in your home, why do you have blinds, right? If you have nothing to hide, just sit around naked all day inside of a giant glass house so everyone can see you, right? So when people say, I have nothing to hide, why does it matter? I think that's a really easy argument. You're just like, you have blinds on your home for a reason. It's a silly thing to hear from people. And I show in the film time and time again perfectly innocent people whose lives are completely upended as a result of these spy systems. Individuals who make a post that they share with their friends and suddenly SWAT is at their house 2 hours later. Now, this individual in the film, he made a bad joke on Facebook. SWAT shows up at his house. What did the police say when he asked to figure out, how they had gotten this information? Well, they said someone just came into the station and reported what he had said on Facebook, and that's how they figured it out. And he had made basically it was a quote from Fight Club, is what he had posted. And they took it as a threat to the Apple Store. So. This is, and then they, someone walked in and said they don't keep a record of that. That's what they said. Somehow they also knew exactly where he was staying. He didn't have any record there. He wasn't actually living there. He had only been there for like 10 days. So obviously it was a spy system that brought the SWAT to his house that day. This is just the beginning. This is the tip of the iceberg. If I can show 3 or 4 cases in the last couple of years where this has happened, it's happening much more. The reality is with these surveillance systems, when these kinds of cases happen, when we see it happening, where people's lives are completely upended by this, it's happening far more than what we're able to actually see. Someone screwed up when we know that the surveillance is going on. That's crappy surveillance. Great surveillance is when we don't know that it's happening. The greatest trick the NSA ever played was convincing the world that it didn't exist. And today, now we know, we've known for a while, we've had whistleblowers telling us, but Edward Snowden just opened up the door. He opened it up. We're having a mature conversation right now. We're all here for a reason. I'd like it if there were more people here, but you know what? This is a great start. And this conversation is going to continue. And I thank Edward Snowden for that. I hope that my film helps keep this conversation going. We need to end FISA. We need to end the Patriot Act. That's what needs to happen. We need to keep watching the watchers. The last thing, there's 2 final things I want to say. We heard a lot about 1984 today, and one thing that happened a couple of years ago, you might remember, is Amazon actually pulled 1984 from people's Kindles. They didn't have the copyright to it, and so they actually took 1984, of all books, off of people's Kindles. Well, I want to say, just because there wasn't smoke doesn't mean it didn't burn. Think about that. I'm going to give you one more point. So in my film I show something, which is that Google had been covering up their original privacy policies. They actually backdated their privacy policy to make it look like they had always had the same philosophy. After 9/11, they backdated and made it look like they'd always had the exact same policy on privacy. And if you look at their original privacy policies, it shows a very different corporate philosophy, one that was based largely around anonymity. As a result of the film in the last month or so, they've actually now gone back and quietly put their original privacy policies there. It's good to be able to hold them accountable, but the reality is that they should not be evil on their own. We shouldn't have to be doing this for them. The idea that a digital trail can be erased is a very scary proposition. So we need to watch the watchers. And if the Founding Fathers were alive today, I can tell you that you can be damn sure they would want the 4th Amendment to apply online. That's what needs to happen. So finally, I'll just say that the film is screening tonight. It's screening all day. It's screening tonight at 7:15. The film is about raising awareness. It's about explaining why Edward Snowden, why people like Daniel Ellsberg, why Mark Klein have come out and done what they've done. It is an answer to why this is such a major problem. I know that many of you are aware of why it's such a major problem, but not enough people are. That's what the film is really about. So I'll be there tonight. I'll be talking afterwards. We also have a site, trackoff.us. That's a place where you can go to petition congressmen to see this, because that's how we're going to get change. We've got to get congressmen to stop these, shitty legislation from existing. So anyway, I want to thank you all today. We've got to keep fighting. So.